Ultimate MK Podquest.
You know who else holds themselves to a high standard?
Who?
The prince from Cinderella.
I don't know that I want to use that. Fuck it. You know what I did, Corey? I watched 1997's Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella.
Starring
A little actor named Paolo Montalban as Prince Christopher.
Is that the prince's name in Cinderella? Has that always been true?
I think in Disney universe or in Rodgers and Hammerstein universe anyway. Like, I don't know if was that a Grimm fairy tale? I'm not sure.
Is that canon? So tell me a little bit about Cinderella. That adaptation of Cinderella. I don't know shit about it.
The movie also stars legendary R&B singer and actor Brandy Norwood as Cinderella. Few other actors, you may recognize some of these names. Bernadette Peters, Jason Alexander.
Yeah. Yeah.
Victor Garber.
I don't know that guy. Not by name.
Whoopi Goldberg. Whitney Houston. This is a star-studded cast.
It really is.
And I'm going to tell you.
Also proof that every fucking Cinderella adaptation doesn't need to be white. Apparently it's not that hard. Apparently you can just do that.
Yeah. It was excellent. This was 1997. It was a TV movie.
Good year I was born.
I didn't remember it, but I know I had seen it before because I watched it when it aired. It was like a big thing on ABC. They were advertising it for weeks. And I watched it. And
America broadcasting Cinderella.
Exactly. So I watched it last night, and it was I had a blast. Here's my big takeaways. Paolo Montalban rules,
which we already knew.
Yeah, he's great. And what was wild is so this was 1997. Conquest was 1998. He's in the movie. He's singing. He's dancing. He's just looking handsome like he does, you know. But watching it now, like having seen how many hours of Conquest?
More than anyone else.
Yes, because I've watched this series multiple times before the podcast. I don't know. I was thinking about when he's as Kung Lao, man, poor Kung Lao, just can't catch a break, can he? Right?
No.
He's tormented by visions. He loses his girlfriend. He's constantly getting his legs broken by ninjas. It's just the hits keep coming.
Naive himbo who can't stop getting his ass beat.
When he gets intense, like that episode, the Quan Chi episode where he got his mind poisoned by Netherrealm sand or whatever, and he was just losing his shit on Zero.
He was a bad boy.
And almost killing all of the monks and everything. We get to see him be intense a lot. We don't really get to see him ever be happy in the show. So I was watching Cinderella, and I was like, look at this. Look at at the end of this movie, Kung Lao's got some happiness. He's happy through the whole thing, you know? He's hopeful. It was just a delightful experience. And the costuming was fucking rad. It was really good.
I think the biggest takeaway I have from this is that we would pay an exorbitant amount of money just to see him smile for 10 seconds.
Absolutely.
And mean it.
100%. We would.
This whole series up to this point has largely been about in what ways will Kung Lao's life become worse as he learns to be a leader and put his own desires aside.
Yeah, they're really fucking with my boy.
But he's got 2 friends and a boss.
Anyway, it was refreshing, and it was just an interesting experience watching it after having watched so much Conquest. And I genuinely recommend it. Now let's talk about Mortal Kombat, the inverse of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella.
That's entirely possible.
It really is.
I mean, the jury is still out. The scientists are not in with the data, which the jury needs to deliberate on whether or not those things are true polar opposites. But in the meantime, what we can discuss is how brutally, viciously naive our protagonists are.
Yeah. This is it, man. This is the penultimate episode, right?
This is setting up the end game, essentially.
Yes, the Avengers Endgame.
And in questionable ways, as far as your boy is concerned.
All right, let's, you want to just get right into it? Go over to that Corey corner and talk a little bit about...
we've been doing this show for months.
Yeah.
How did we not come up with some variation of get over here to do the podcast now, to exit a cold open, some sort of related bit like that?
Well,
is that anything?
I think it's because at first we didn't want to spoil the Scorpion reveal in episode 2.
But
you know what?
We
got a lot of Mortal Kombat shit to talk about. We have a lot more episodes of of this show to do. Let's workshop it a little bit each time.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Yeah, my initial pitch is the phrasing is trash. It should go in the garbage. But there is something there somewhere.
There's something
and
there.
We, as two grown adult men who do a podcast, not unlike many pairs of grown adult men that do podcasts, I'm sure,
Yes.
can put our brains together and figure this out.
Yeah, I believe in us. I think we can do that. But for now, let's talk about Mortal Kombat Conquest, episode 21, Stolen Lies. Hey, Corey, look. It's the Corey Corner. Let's get over there.
Whoa! That's what happens when you go over somewhere. It's wild. It's a truly befuddling experience. Welcome to the Corey Corner. Mortal Kombat Conquest Episode 21, Stolen Lies, is about what happens when you try to reconnect from people you haven't talked with since high school.
Yeah, that's really good.
So Shao Kahn, pissed. He's so upset. And he's got plans, baby boy, big plans. And he's gonna dummy Earthrealm like it ain't never been done before. But first, he's a little stuck in a different realm. And meanwhile, in a completely unrelated series of events that definitely have nothing to do with that, the Kombat Krew get robbed, almost, by someone who we learn is named Dion, who is an old friend of Taja's and is therefore saved from Ciro's wrath. So they start sort of, introducing Dion into the gang and seeing what's up with that, while we are also getting information on a purple-clothed death cult worshipping a god named Shaka.
It's,
who is so fucking obviously Shao Kahn. You would have to be the dumbest three idiots in the world. And there's big skulls everywhere, and it's a death cult where they murder people. And somehow they don't put it together for about 26 minutes of television runtime. So because there's some good bits in this episode I don't want to get to in the Corey Corner, I'll just say that. Turns out that the impromptu arrival of Taja's long-lost thief friend and the impending doom of the summoning of Shao Kahn into Earthrealm by way of Death Cult might be somewhat related.
Yeah, who'd have thunk it? Whew.
And the gang finds out by going to a secret hidden city called Shao Kahn, which is just the name Shao Kahn. And a whole society lives there, and they've been waiting for Shao Kahn to show up. And he's about to the point where Rayden is sad. And he's solving that problem in an interesting way.
Yeah, the episode really ends on a cliffhanger. We don't get any... We haven't yet. Next episode, hopefully, we're going to get some closure on this, right? But like right now, things are just kind of up in the air.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's too early to make this point, but this is some truly strange endgame setup, because I feel like there was a whole 20 previous episodes where a number of these things could have been set up earlier and maybe with pre-existing characters.
Sure, yeah.
And instead, we're getting a lot of stuff right now.
Yeah, there's definitely a lack of pre-planning on this one. Anyway, are we out of the Corey Corner?
I think so. I don't want to give too much of the fun stuff away because the premise is very simple, but the fun stuff is a good time.
All right, that's good because I'm hanging out over here in the Neil Nook. So Corey, get over here. Welcome to the Neil Nook.
It's Gucci. Whoa! Okay, I'm over there now.
I think we don't need to workshop it anymore. I think we nailed it.
I think, if we each just say get over here.
Yeah.
Which we didn't do this time, but we can do it next time.
We'll do that next time. We'll do that for the last episode of Mortal Kombat Conquest.
And I think more Mortal Kombat characters, when get over here'd, should not be like, ugh, like, oh, I got hit with a thing. It should be like you're falling down a flight of stairs.
All right, Neil Nook time. This episode was directed by Reza Bidi. Again, written by James Cappy and Sean Catherine Derrick, of course.
Who else?
This one didn't get the Hat Man touch. In terms of new characters, guest characters, whatever we want to call them, guest stars, there's a lot.
We have Purple Emperor Palpatine.
There are so many. Purple Emperor Palpatine, played by Tom Nowicki as the High Priest. This guy's been around for a while. He was in The Punisher, the Tom Jane one. He was in Remember the Titans.
Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella as the Carriage.
He did 4 episodes of Walker, Texas Ranger. Yeah, he plays the high priest of Shao Kahn or whichever it is. One more thing about Tom Nowicki. In his IMDb biography, he spent time as a professional wrestler from 1983 to 1986 as Lord Larry Oliver in the Dixie Wrestling Alliance.
That's awesome. I'm going to ask
Yes.
my wrestling friend about that also. The Dixie Wrestling Alliance.
While you're asking them, you can ask them about Emery Hale, who was a WCW wrestler named Hale, Hail, and he was the big shadow priest that
Who somehow...
whoops Kung Lao's ass.
I have a note that says, is this Brian Rath Clark again?
Nope.
Because I couldn't remember what that man looked like, but in the commercial bumper, we get a leg drop, and I'm like, that's a wrestling maneuver.
Yep. This is Emery Hale, born in Florida, sadly passed away in 2006. Here he is immortalized in Mortal Kombat Conquest for eternity. As for Dion, Taj's old friend Dion, she is played by Kathleen Kinmont. And I recognized her before I recognized her. I was like, I've seen her in something. I couldn't think of what it was. And it was, of course, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, where she plays Kelly Meeker.
Have I seen Halloween 4?
It's one of my favorites of this series.
Who's the lead in that one?
Danielle Harris when she's like 10 years old.
Maybe I have seen this movie.
Danielle Harris did 2 in the original series, and then she was also in both the Rob Zombie ones. But this is not a Halloween podcast.
As we've said many times.
Yeah, I really want to do a Halloween podcast down the line. I'm going to talk to Liam about it. Anyway, Kathleen Kinmont also, she's got some hits here, man. She's got some of the hits we look for on this show. She did 3 episodes of Silk Stalkings. She did a Baywatch, and she did a VIP.
What happened to Pacific Blue? I feel like we've really lost our way.
I know.
Like, those are bangers, of course.
Yes.
But, man, I could use the good old Pacific Blue shout out.
Yeah.
In these trying times.
I also picked out one thing for... They made another one. Unfortunately, I should have picked something else because this one's already been suggested. She was in Bride of Reanimator with Kriya herself, Fabiana Udenio.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, pretty cool. Maybe I wonder if that's how she got pulled into this.
Fabiana Udenio was like, look, if I'm doing it, you also have to do it.
Fabiana calls her up like, hey.
We will not share any screen time, however.
She also did 87 episodes of the classic TV show Renegade.
That's so many episodes. I don't know what this is.
It's Renegade is a show after crooked cop lieutenant Dutch Dixon kills his girlfriend and frames him for murder. Reno Reigns escapes from jail and goes on the run.
Dutch Dixon and Reno Reigns?
Yeah.
Those are porn names.
It's a show people know. It's not a show I know. I mostly know your Pacific Blues. And boy, we've had a dearth of those lately, like you said.
I'm really feeling the Pacific Blues.
I also want to just put this out there. I am not sure if this is right, but you know that like Catwoman warrior they fight in this episode?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is
Was she from Batman?
No, I'm thinking it's either Carrie Lauren, who is just credited as warrior, but uncredited, which is confusing to say, or it might be somebody from the stunt crew. There's a good chance it might be Dana He. The thing I'm getting at is that our uncredited warriors and our stunt people are often not accurately credited with characters or anything like that. Like, I'm looking at this stuff on IMDb now. The only thing we have is Christopher Lepps as Paulo Montalban's stunt double. Sultan Newton was in this one. Mike Christopher was in this one. John Medlin, people we've talked about before. It's hard to tell who's who, though, you know. I just want to give shout-outs to the stunt crew as often as I can. And that warrior, that Catwoman fight was pretty sick. And, yeah, I just wish I could find a better credit for that person. Step your shit up, IMDb. That's my point. One more guy I want to talk about. The Skull Warrior who fights Kung Lao and the crew is played by Gary Ray Stearns. He did stunts in The Matrix Reloaded. I think that's one of the ones that Daniel Bernhardt did. He also did stunts in The Amazing Spider-Man. Not The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I don't think. Yes.
His loss.
He was the fight coordinator for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Hell yeah.
His gain.
And, of course, he did several Pirates of the Caribbean movies. He also did stunts in Tekken. That's a big one for us. Yeah.
He played Tekken number 5 in Tekken.
All right. That was a
Pretty
mess.
cool.
That was a mess of a Neil Nook. Let's Let's get out of here.
Oh! In the immortal words of, I think, me most of the time, let's just jump right into it. Literally my first note. Who the fuck is this Emperor Palpatine looking motherfucker?
Right? Yeah, we just open on this city, and it's like a nice, well-lit city, which is not something we see often
Brand new
in Conquest. Everything's clean, you know? Everyone's wearing purple.
Big skull.
Big skull, like a stone like dais, and there's a woman like laying on it, about to get sacrificed, Halloween 6 style. And yeah, this like a high priest is like, he's giving a speech to the like cheering crowd, right? He's like, it was foretold that he would return to lead us to greater glory, and like a bunch of other cult shit, right?
Yeah, it's just real cult shit.
Yeah, and then the woman is laying there, and she gets stabbed with like this ceremonial dagger-looking thing. It looks like a kunai. It looks like what's on the end of Scorpion's weapon in non-Mortal Kombat Conquest universe.
He's also got like a goofy-looking Grim Reaper hooded like skeleton necklace on with all of his like robes.
A lot of skulls. So many skulls.
They picked a really cool color palette, which is very purple and blue.
Yeah.
It is easily the most fucked up these colors have looked, though. The color grading, or whatever they're doing to this fucking show, it looks its absolute worst.
I'm going to say something.
At the beginning of this episode.
I'm not noticing these things, and I'm really wondering if there's a difference in like the encoding quality in your files versus mine. Like,
it is jacked up. Like,
we'll discuss this off air. I'm going to send you some screenshots from my episodes and see how they compare to yours, just because I'd be
curious, because it looks
I'm not seeing
vile.
It, and I'm worried that maybe my vision is going.
No. I don't think I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Well, like, you're so offended by it that I'm
not offended by it. It's just because it's not even necessarily bad. Like, people might like it, but it's just jarring. Like, the blues especially look just so fucking jacked up.
Right.
I can't think of a better way to describe it. They just look weird.
I do want to talk about this now before I forget. We've already given away the twist that this is a hidden city that worships Shao Kahn, and everyone's wearing purple. And again, like, it reminds me of in the pilot when Kung Lao was having his vision and everything around him looked purple. And then we see, the way Outworld is portrayed, especially in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, when it's merging with Earthrealm and the skies, everything's got like this purple tint to it. Like, I think that's a pretty cool allusion to like Outworld that they're building into this. I'm sure it was deliberate.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have no doubt it was. Like, Outworld always looks purple and or blue, depending on what room you're in. So my second note says, does that mean Shao Kahn?
Just right away, you're on the ball here.
Right before my note that says, holy shit, she got fire evaporated.
Yeah, the high priest stabs the woman, and like, to be fair, she seems cool with it.
She was on board. Yeah, she was a cultist. It's fine.
And then the big skull behind him, like, the eyes light up. And
shoots fire.
Shoot fire out at her, and she burns up. And everyone's cheering.
Yeah, no, people are stoked.
I wasn't. I was like, oh no.
I mean, I was, because the effect was good.
It was really good. Yeah, it looks good.
And then we just get a deeply disturbed Kung Lao just having the worst time.
Yeah, he's having
like a panic attack montage.
He's having visions.
Shao Kahn is like spiritually threatening him.
Yeah, and
we're definitely getting a lot of footage from the movies.
We totally are. We're getting a lot of footage from Mortal Kombat Annihilation in particular. We're also getting more cuts from of his like vision, like seeing Goro. This is important. We mentioned that in the Melina episode. That's the time I like first really noticed what these dreams were that he was having. Were like a bad Goro, But here's the thing. I went back when we were prepping for our show with Ben, and I went back and watched some of the early episodes. He was having Goro flashbacks all the way back in episode 1, or Goro flashbacks. He was having Goro visions all the way back in episode 1 of the show. They were just super zoomed in, so you couldn't really tell what he was looking at. But it lines up, and he's having those again now, and seeing this like Outworld invasion force, and Shao Kahn just sort of subtweeting him in his head, right?
Yeah, no, totally. It took me a second to realize what you meant. That was an unexpected invocation of the concept of subtweeting, but I'm all for it. And it's nice that In a show that is often fickle with its consistency, it's nice that that's been a baseline, because some other things have been a bit more loosey-goosey.
Well, that was the one thing that they knew, right? They knew, like, when this series ends, if we get to carry this series on for multiple seasons, it's going to end with Kung Lao getting killed by Goro. So I think it's cool that they started sewing those things in almost immediately. It was the only thing that they knew. Like they're like, okay, we're gonna make a show about the great Kung Lao. He's at some point gonna die and be killed by someone very specific. So that's all we have to go on.
How do we get there?
Yeah. How do we get there, and how do we
Work
get
backwards.
all of these other characters in here as well?
It's very bizarre to me that this is how they thought it made the most sense. Also, I'm trying to think, because obviously we know this show didn't get a season 2. I don't know how early on in production they knew that they weren't getting a second season. But again, I know this isn't the finale. I don't know what happens in the finale. We'll get there.
Right.
This is just a very weird setup. Not in terms of like Kung Lao getting visions that are haunting him and everybody's like knows something is coming. That's all a given. But like the rest of the episode, as we're going to get to it here, beyond those more consistent staple things that we've had the whole time, it just feels weird to me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They definitely had plans for future seasons. There's some stuff out there. At the very least, there was an official timeline released that connects Mortal Kombat Conquest to the Mortal Kombat film, fills in some of the details in between. Now, whether this village or any of this stuff ever comes up again on that, I really can't say right now, but we might actually be able to find some answers to some of these things.
It's just bizarre to me because there are so many other ongoing things, and for none of those to factor in the penultimate episode in a meaningful way, even just of the season, just feels weird. Like, here's a new character in a new place and a single antagonist who we've had the whole season, and none of the ancillary players are involved at all.
Well, we just spent a lot of time with Vorpax, and all of the Kriya stuff.
I know, but I'm also aware of the fact that there is only 44 minutes left of this television show.
Right. I think they were
and they can't possibly fit it all in. So it's weird that this is like, we need to get back to Shao Kahn somehow. Let's just do this other shit. I would have liked to see something that, I guess I may as well get into this more later, but I would have liked to see something that maybe felt more attached to those other things.
Sure, I understand. This does feel like this almost feels like a mid-season thing that would happen, right? And then the real storyline would continue after this a little bit.
Right, like this is like a big threat that you have weighing in the back of your mind for the next like 10 episodes.
Yeah, but it is what it is. So stay tuned for my fan fiction where I rewrite Mortal Kombat Conquest. Anyway, yeah. So Kung Lao's having these bad visions, right? And he's they show him in the Shaolin Temple in the room with all the candles lit, and he's like flipping out over these things. And then we just sort of cut back to Zhu Zhen, right? And we're following this bandit clad all in black, looks like a ninja.
We can immediately tell she is sneaking into the Combat Crew's zone.
Yeah, the
because
place.
it's the one balcony where all things happen.
She's already cleaned out Applebee's. She's already been to Kiri and Anka's place.
Applebee's is occupied by one especially horny god of thunder. Nobody wants to go near there.
Yeah, so this thief, sneaks in upstairs. I think it's Jen's room, and starts picking up jewelry. And then Zero busts in, right? Catches them red-handed. And
we get violence-obsessed Zero again.
Right.
Who really shows up only occasionally, but he's like, let me see your face so I know who I'm about to beat the shit out of.
Pulls the mask off, and surprise, it's a hot lady.
And he's like, I'll beat you up anyway. Which in and of itself is not beyond the pale for this show, but I still find it weird where Zero, like, it's like if you catch Zero on a bad day, he's more likely to beat you up.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes we just get a version of Zero where he's like, fuck you. And other times he's a little bit more understanding. So it's always a bit of whiplash when it goes back and forth.
He's always got like a strong sense of justice, but the definition of what
and
justice
loves
is
beating people up
fluctuates depending on like if he's, had a good meal that day or not. You know what I mean?
Is this justice or just ice? I don't know what that means.
All right. Moving on.
Oh God! Oh my God! I'm gonna be so tired by the end of this. We gotta. Oh boy.
Let's keep going then, man. So Zero's got this lady thief, and he's like threatening her, as we said. And then Taja walks by the door and she's like, hey, I know you, that you're my old friend Dion. Ciro, let her go. That's my old friend Dion. And so he does. He's not happy about it, but he does. This is Taja's old BFF, right? And then I think from here we go over to Applebee's and horny Rayden is drinking wine with a babe sitting on his lap.
Rayden says, first of all, she calls him Raymond, which is so fucking
good.
Funny.
I loved it.
And then now somebody needs to Photoshop everybody loves Rayden. So he's trying to make a point that what he's drinking is the nectar of the gods, but what he goes with is it's the nectar of me. And that is just a vile phrase. He's no matter how you slice it.
Sure, yes. But I do love that he's in this bar drinking and telling ladies that he's a god as like a pickup line.
And she seems on board, even if it's not true. She's like, Jeffrey Meek is hot. I'm ready to go. He might be a god, whatever.
Raymond, Lord of Thunder and Protector of Earthrealm.
And then he whispers some, what I can only assume is some truly jacked up shit in her ear, because Kung Lao arrives and he's like, hey man, are you okay?
Should I call you a cab?
Rayden's like, don't I look okay? Look at this. Look at who I'm with and how drunk I am. And Kung Lao's like, can you do that? And he's like, yeah, if I try hard enough, if I drink a lot. And Kung Lao's like, why are you doing this? This doesn't seem normal. And he's like, well, the potential impending destruction of Earthrealm has been weighing heavy on my conscience, and therefore I decided to get absolutely blasted.
He's like, hey, Kung Lao, come on, man. Don't you know who this is? This is Suzanne Stokes, Playboy Playmate of the Month in February 2000.
Good month.
She grew up in Florida on an alligator farm. The Neil Nook.
It's Gucci. She thinks I'm a god. And Kung Lao's like, okay, cool. Never seen an alligator before. Don't know what Florida is. Can I talk to Rayden, please? And she's like, I guess, whatever. And Rayden's like, wait. Psst, 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 psst. And he says some truly fucked up sex shit. I guarantee you 100%.
100%.
And she's like, wow, you can do that? He's like, hell fucking yeah, I can. And she's like, okay, I'll be back.
We are not here to kink shame. This seems very consensual.
No. We don't even need to do that.
Babe isn't drunk. Rayden is drunk.
I choose to believe she is absolutely just on board that he is a god.
Absolutely. 100%. Who here wouldn't?
She is one of my favorite side characters I think we've ever gotten, because she's A, just down to party, but B, like, totally goes with the flow and is completely understanding, because later in the episode there's a bit of a thing and she's just like, oh, are you okay? Like, do you need water? I can get you some. And then she goes to do that and he pulls some gotcha and she's just like, okay, well, I guess we'll talk later. That's cool. Like, she is just totally like, I don't give a shit. He was nice and hot. We'll talk. It's fine.
It's a real tonal shift, though, to go from, like, drunk, horny Rayden into the rest of the stuff that's going to happen in this episode.
It's one of the wildest choices they've ever made. And I get why, because you want to put Rayden, like, off his footing to illustrate the significance of what is about to happen. But also, like, Jeffrey Meek's having a good time, though. He's having fun.
What I'm curious about is all of the times where they've talked about, like, Rayden's never here when we need him, all the times Kung Lao's looked for him and hasn't been able to find him, all the times Rayden has just, like, popped in and been like, I don't know, man, look into your heart or some shit, and then gotten out of there as quick as possible. Was it because he was off doing this shit? Was he off, like, just picking up babes? And then sending the Kombat Krew out on missions so he could take them home to the trading post to have his fun? Because he definitely does that later in this episode.
I'm going to assume no. Only because it really does seem like he only gets blasted like once in a while.
But he doesn't have to be blasted to do this. I think that's two separate things. I think he's blasted and he's picking up a lady. I don't think he's constantly getting blasted to pick up ladies. Also, I've never said getting blasted before in my life.
Welcome to the party, pal. I'm all about blasted.
Yeah, so Rayden's fucking drunk as shit and picking up a lady, and yeah, he's freaking out, right? Because he's like, I don't know, world's gonna end soon. I might as well have some fun.
I'm drinking my life away, Kung Lao, and Kung Lao's like, huh? And then he does scared face.
Right.
Actually, Rayden does say this is how he's coping.
Yes, he says, I'm not drunk yet, but I'm working on it. That's dark.
I'd say we've all been there, but I haven't.
One of the things he's talking about is that Vorpax and her army are kicking Shao Kahn's ass.
As we all knew she would, fuck him up.
Hell yeah. And it's pushing Shao Kahn over the edge.
Now that's what I call a girl boss. Finally, women are doing war. Am I right?
Pew, 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 pew. Yeah, so he's like, yeah, Vorpax is kicking Shao Kahn's ass. He's pushed over the edge. He's more dangerous than ever, right? Yeah, and that's why he's getting drunk. That's why he's nervous, right? And here's the other fucked up thing I noticed. Like, wasn't it like 2 episodes ago where Rayden was literally encouraging Kung Lao and the crew to stay out of the conflict between Shao Kahn and Vorpax? Like, it was a good thing.
Yes, however...
Now he's like, you probably should have gotten involved because shit's crazy now.
Well, I don't think that's what he said.
2 episodes ago, he was like cool with the way everything was going. And now he's like, oh, world's going to end.
We also don't know how long ago that was.
It was
to
2
be fair.
episodes ago.
Right, but like...
It's still only been like a week since Jen died.
That would be so funny. Holy shit. This whole show takes place over the course of 9 days.
Yeah.
A lot of reunions. It was a busy week.
You had something to add to that?
Did I?
Maybe not.
Not anymore.
All right. Anyway, back at the club, Taja and Dion they're showing off some of their old thief scams to Zero, talking about how they like started with pickpocketing and things like that.
Finally, Neil.
Taja doing some thief shit.
No. Well, yes, but no. They're gonna learn step by step how they keep getting baited, so maybe it will stop happening.
Yes.
Because the ploy that Dion and Taja do is somebody pretends to fall the fuck over and need help, and now you're being robbed, or in the case of the Kombat Krew, most of the time, you're being kidnapped or beat up. The lesson that Zero is learning, that Kung Lao needed to learn and didn't because he wasn't in the fucking room, is that you cannot trust every random person that falls over in the woods.
My reading of this is a little different because when Dion gets up to demonstrate, she takes her shirt off, and I was like, oh, okay. So they use boobs and fake tripping to steal Zero's wallet.
Well, yeah, it's both. Yeah. But in any case, it's a lesson Kung Lao needs to learn and did not.
Now, I just need to say this. You would think that boobs would not be a good distraction in Zhuzhen, where everyone walks around just with their boobs out already.
Yeah, it's a lot of bold fashion statements.
But I guess Zero's just a big horny baby.
Gross.
Anyway, yeah, they use boobs to steal Zero's wallet.
And he's like, nice job, ladies.
Nice job, ladies. Also, you two ladies. Okay.
And then, from there, the tone of this episode is weird because everybody seems to be simultaneously in kind of a good mood and also terrified of what's happening or potentially happening, except for Kung Lao, who is maybe doing the least good job of hiding that. I'm glossing over one part, which is where Dion and Taja go out amongst the town and chat a bit, and Taja is trying to get Dion to stop stealing things and like offering to help her start her life anew.
Right.
I'm not glossing over it because it's not relatively important. I'm glossing over it because that's what the fucking television show does. Once again, we're giving Taja something just to take it away.
Yeah, I think you summed it up well. Taja wants to help because Taja rules.
Meanwhile, Zero's kicking a sandbag.
Yeah, Zero and Kung Lao are training, right?
They're training, and I love that following the meeting with Rayden, which all characters established in this episode is an immediate mood ruiner most of the time.
Yeah.
Zero, while doing his kicks and punches, is like looking at Kung Lao, and he's like, something isn't right. I can see it in his face. And you can see it in his face. To be fair, he is acting. You can see it in his face.
And they are very close, those two.
Yes,
yes, as we've
of course. And that's why I like this, because Zero's like, man, something's bothering you. What is it? And he's like, I keep having these montages of footage from Mortal Kombat Annihilation. And it seems like something bad's going to happen. Yeah. And I don't know what it is.
And then...
Did you hear that?
And then he gets kicked in the face, doesn't he?
Somebody drops from above, I thought.
Yes, my note says Kung Lao's filling in Zero with what he learned from Rayden,
Yeah,
and
Kung
then
Lao sure is filling in Zero, am I right?
and then they are interrupted by a shitty ninja.
Yeah, the music for this fight is good as shit, though. And
Yes.
Zero gets to do moves he was practicing mere moments ago. Like, he's
Hell
doing
yeah.
the identical kicks and shit.
We love a callback.
And, okay, so they fight.
This thief comes in, and he comes in demanding that they return what they've stolen, right? And they're like, we haven't stolen anything. We don't know what you're talking about, dude. And he's like, yeah, fuck you,
And he's
fight
like,
me.
fuck you.
I'm gonna fight you anyway. He definitely kicks Kung Lao in the face, because I wrote that down.
So they fight, and it's a good fight, but I don't know if it's like an earth-shatteringly good fight.
Yeah, I think I'm just getting sentimental about the show because I was really into this one, and I was like, look at that, it's Zero and Kung Lao teaming up to beat up
I
a
was into
shitty
it,
ninja.
and the song is tight. It's a good time. But there's something so important I need to get to.
Let me just say a few more things about this. They are just pummeling the motherfucker, but this is another fight where it does seem like Kung Lao takes an injury. It seems like he gets his shoulder fucked up at some point.
And then he's fine, though, at the end.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's okay, and he's fine. So at the end of this fight, Neil,
Yes.
they've murdered him. They've killed the man.
Yeah, Kung Lao
Well,
killed him.
It's self-defense.
It is.
But they're like, Zero's like, okay, he's not going to tell us anything. And they pull off his, like, headdress.
Yeah.
And they reveal the funniest skull tattoo on the top of his head anyone has ever had. Neil, do you know what Mr. Cool Ice is?
No. What's Mr. Cool Ice?
I'm going to send you a picture
Okay.
of Mr. Cool Ice. And your life is going to be different after.
All right.
And so the skull on top of this stupid man's head looks a lot like our boy, Mr. Cool Ice. Please tell me this link worked. It didn't. Hang on. Oh my god. I can't believe I have to show you this one first. Did you open it? So that's our boy, Mr. Cool Ice. He goes by Mr. Cool Ice.
Wow.
Everybody, if you don't know what I'm talking about, do yourself a favor and look up Mr. Cool Ice. So the skull just looks like this guy's tattoos.
Pretty fucking cool guy,
And it
honestly.
made me think of that instantly.
I would be friends with Mr. Cool Ice. I'm not lying.
There's a newer picture of him. He got even more tattoos.
Yeah, he did. I
and is
see it.
committed. He looks
Holy
even better.
shit. Wow.
Anyway, so the skull instantly reminded me of that, and I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Oh my god. Oh, Jesus. All right. See, and what my notes are about how it reminded me of when do you remember before Beats by Dre were a thing and instead everybody thought Skull Candy was really cool?
Yeah, that was like my early teenage years.
Yeah, I still, between you and me, I still buy Skull Candy earbuds because they're pretty good for the price. Anyway, they used to come when you would buy a pair of Skull Candy headphones. They would
became Mr. Cool Ice.
They would come with a little like a little chipboard just ready to tag with stencil of the Skull Candy logo.
I fucking love condoning graffiti. Hell yeah. Take it to the man.
So my association was me like, oh, this guy had one of those Skull Candy stencils and put it on his head.
Honestly, two great cultural touchstones.
But that's
What
just
we need is a Mr. Cool Ice stencil.
Yeah.
Also, there's no good reason why Sub-Zero doesn't have a Mr. Cool Ice skin. Wait, Casey just saw Mr. Cool Ice for the first time. Yeah! He heard me say it as he was walking up the stairs.
Oh god. All right. Boy, this episode
Sorry, we
of
can talk later, but I can't believe I got to show two people Mr. Cool Ice.
this this episode of Mr. Cool Ice Cast is really off the rails.
It's brought to you by Rogers and Hammerstein's Cinderella.
So Kung Lao and Zero totally murder this dork. And then Taja and Dion return, and Kung Lao and Zero are like, hey, this guy was looking for something that was taken from somewhere. You're a thief, Dion. We think you took it, right? And they start questioning her about it. She denies that she knows anything, and Taja stands up for her. And, like, Zero's still kind of like, I don't know, but, like...
Zero, correctly, is like,
Yeah.
We've been swindled by a lot of people from our pasts over the last however long this show has been of our lives.
Yeah.
Maybe we should be concerned, but Kung Lao, pure-hearted and naive as he is to this very day,
Yeah.
is like, nah, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, he's like, if Taja says you're cool, that's enough for me. And, like, let's be fair. That's the more likely option, because how many times has Taja been right when nobody's listened to her in the past? This is episode 21, so the past 20 episodes, ballpark?
Yeah, every episode, basically.
Yeah. So, I don't know. There's something that's kind of fucked up that, like, the time that he takes her at her word is now the time when she ends up to be wrong.
The show can't help but put Taja in situations where it unfairly looks like she doesn't know what she's doing, except for every other time she's been right and nobody listens.
Yeah, totally.
This show has a fucking fixation. I know it's like Monster of the Week style, but like people just keep fucking showing up.
I know. Okay. We're branching off topic here. We're going to zip through a lot of this, but yeah, I was thinking about that too, because again, I'm getting nostalgic for this show that I'm honestly going to immediately start watching again from episode 1 the second we finish covering it on the podcast. They really like spent the first half of that season just jamming in as much Mortal Kombat shit as they could, and they didn't really get started on original storylines or things like that until the second half of this season. And now they're trying to cram in what feels like a season's worth of original storylines and characters into 10 episodes.
I honestly wonder if if contractually there was some sort of like mortal quota they had to hit.
I think they just knew that they needed to hook people, right? People are coming to this for the Mortal Kombat shit.
I guess, yeah, I understand why you hold some of those cards, but I think even if some of the original stuff were just set up sooner,
right?
Not even entirely, but like even in passing.
But they did.
Sooner.
That's the thing. They did set things up, like they set up Vorpax as not being human. Then it turns out she's a Kriya person. They set up
Kiri.
But
that took like 12 episodes to become anything.
They set up Kiri and Anka to be reptile people, and then had that big twist, and then Kiri still hung around for a while doing Kiri shit. And then they just like drop all of those things that they had been like sowing the seeds of.
That's what I mean.
For this huge
We may as well
thing.
just talk about this right now, because it's going to keep coming up. And this is something that's going to come up when we do like a post-finale assessment, essentially. But what doesn't make sense to me about this episode especially is even if you take out of consideration the fact that a lot of the original stuff is coming late, so it felt like you had like the Mortal Kombat-y part and then the Conquest-y part, and those are a bit delineated because they start getting away from like your Scorpions and Sub-Zeros and making their own calls, to an extent anyway. There's no reason for them to be essentially what feels like abandoning a lot of that in the lead up to and including this episode, because, as I said earlier, there is a 0% chance that a lot of these things can be brought up in a meaningful way in the finale, regardless as to whether or not they were under the impression they were going to get a second season. So the thing that is frustrating is that it feels like with this setting up the end game, we literally see flash forwards potentially, or at least like visions of a possible confrontation between Shao Kahn and Rayden. Like, we know what's coming, but there are so many ancillary players that are being diminished to throwaway lines of dialogue, and we're not going to get satisfying conclusions to things like Vorpax's story, or even, you know, beyond the setup of the fact that we have things like Scorpion and Sub-Zero in this universe, or what's going on with these things, because there's just no fucking space left.
Mortal Kombat Conquest paved the way for Lost.
I kind of think that's fine. That's not inherently bad, because I don't want this to sound like I need a very clear point A to point B to point C, and everything you set off needs to Chekhov's gun, and you better fire it in the third act, baby boy. Like, that's not it. But there's a fine line between wanting payoff and understanding why we went through previous things, because, like, I just don't feel like Shang Tsung's story has a conclusion yet. I don't feel like Vorpax's story has a conclusion yet. I don't feel like the ninjas, not necessarily that they need conclusions. We know this is the end. Maybe they didn't at the time. But even then, it's the same problem that shows like Game of Thrones had. And I know that's a whole other discourse, and we're not getting into it. But it's the thing where if your entire show is built around the idea of establishing characters long term, setting things up, and paying them off. And then you get all the way to the end and you fucking blow it.
Right.
Like, it's frustrating. And this is not blowing it, but it feels like a lot of things are being left in the back room, just being ignored. So we get like a whole new city, a whole new cult, a plot that Shao Kahn has apparently been doing this entire time for ages and ages and ages based on some sort of false prophecy that just has existed this whole time.
Right.
Rayden apparently thought he knew about it. This has been a significant part of the machinations, allegedly. Why are we, the audience, only hearing about it now? Dramatic irony is a thing. We can know things that the Kombat Krew doesn't know.
Sure.
If this was going to be such a big deal, attach more things to this earlier in the show. Have somebody mention it in passing, like some weird fucking mystical El Dorado. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, illustrate that that's one of the things Shao Kahn is doing, because to not do that, it just feels cheap and weird.
So here's a wild pitch. What if the way this had gone was Vorpax and Shang Tsung with their alliance making half sorcerer warriors come to Shao Kahn's hidden village and start, Vorpax starts procreating with all these like Shao Kahn people. I don't know. There was something there. Like, that would have been a really interesting way to, like, not only just keep that battle between the Korea people and Shang Tsung going, and then the Kombat Krew gets tied up in the middle of that, and there's like weird alliances and shit like that. Like, that would have been a really cool setup.
There was a way to get through faster to delineating what the two separate sides were to Earthrealm, by which I mean what we'll call for simplicity Vorpax Shang and Shao Kahn. And if earlier on in the show we had started to see that conflict undergo separately with consequences for the Kombat Krew, however direct or indirect, you could get to a point where you are having this kind of confrontation in this place where it is a known place and other players are involved.
Right.
Whereas to do this feels like it's a weird imposition upon everything else that had been building up to this point, because the show decided it needed to end soon. So we're getting all of these things for the first time, and a whole new player in the game in Dion, who has apparently been cutting deals with the fucking Emperor of Outworld as some random thief.
Let's get to let's get back on talk here. Let's get back on topic here. Let's get over here. And yeah, all right. So wherever we left off in the discussion, I think we're at the point where we see Dion. Oh, Kung Lao's having more visions and bad dreams about the invasion and everything. I think he's probably been having these all along. Maybe they're just getting worse now, right?
I think so, yeah.
But we cut to outside the trading post, and Dion is searching for something that she hid, and what she digs out is that very same ceremonial dagger from the beginning of the episode. Now, this is called the portal key. They reference it as the portal key later.
Lame name for a cool spear.
It took me a minute. I think the idea of it is cool. We'll talk about it when we get to that point. But yeah, so she stole the portal key. She stole the ceremonial dagger that we saw at the beginning of the episode. And Taja, who is also a badass thief, like immediately confronts her, right? And Dion's like, oh, I took this from a remote village near here. I just thought I could get some coin for it. And Taja's like, all right, a guy came here looking for this. He got killed. He died over this. I'm real mad at you. I trusted you and I love you and you lied to me. So like, I'm really hurt by this, right? Because I'm trying to help you like go straight. So the next morning we got Zero and Kung Lao taking a look at this dagger. Taja immediately apologizes to them for, vouching for Dion and getting them involved in all of this, right? And then she's like, I'm gonna make Dion return this dagger, which is, I think, a really cool moment of Taja. The thing that I think I don't want to say makes Taja better, but like this is another example of why Taja's a good character to me. Yeah, she made a mistake a couple scenes ago, right? But here she is now immediately owning the mistake and trying to fix the situation and still help her friend and hold her friend responsible for her actions, right?
Teach a good lesson, good moral.
Yeah, but within the span of 5 minutes, not within the span of 45 minutes like it took Zero to come to terms with getting beat up and unleashing Noob Saibot on everyone, you know?
Much like real life,
Yeah.
the men in this show are given a lot more time to solve a lot more significant of problems with a lot less urgency.
Tasha owns up right away, and she's like, I'm going to make this right because she has strong moral character, you know? I just respect to Tasha.
Shout out to my girl one time.
Right. And so she's like, all right, that's it. We're taking this dagger back. Dion's like, no, we can't. It's real dangerous. I barely got in there before.
I
super
snuck
well guarded.
It starts out by being like, it was in a village. And it's like, okay, so what if I told you, and stay with me here, what if I told you this village was actually an ancient hidden city with a whole civilization inside that I snuck into only once and stole their mystical thing from an altar? It's really dangerous and heavily guarded and maybe magic, and I really don't want to go back into you guys. Oh my god.
Tasha's like, fuck that, we're going. I don't care. I've seen dragon ladies and ice ninjas. Like, I can handle this shit, right? And Kung Lao and Zero are like, okay, you know what? We're going to. Like, we're in this together. The four members of the Kombat Krew. Dion, you're definitely a permanent member of the Kombat Krew now.
You're definitely not going anywhere or going to double cross us.
And also, like, Rayden's like been really like drunk and weird lately, and we just kind of need a break from him. We're trying to help, but it's just like we can't with Rayden right now. We need to just like get away, clear our heads, come up with a plan to help our god friend with his alcoholism. That was the subtext anyway.
Yeah, the subtext is that Rayden needs help.
Yeah. Right.
But first, we have to go fight a cat woman.
Yes.
Because in the interstitial travel, there's really not a whole lot. Yeah. There is basically like Tasha and Dion are chatting, and then when we get Kung Lao and Zero sort of following them, they're basically like, do you think Dion's full of shit? Yes. We're going to go anyway, I guess?
Yeah.
Yes.
And Dion refers to the people in the village as skullheads.
That feels offensive to that death cult.
Also, we want to talk skullheads. Let's get some Scorpion in this episode, am I right? Ayo. Okay.
Get me some Mr. Cool Ice, please.
The skullhead thing is kind of interesting. The skullhead thing works because like Shao Kahn wears a skull mask, right? He's literally a skull head.
Thank you for breaking down the etymology of skullhead, Neil.
So obvious. I'm saying it's so obvious. It's so obvious. The show, the writing did not for a second fool me.
Shao Kahn.
I know. It's just
Cowards
anyway.
should have gotten a cameo from Shaka Khan.
Okay. Anyway, so they get into like this, like they find like an entrance in a rock wall, and they start working their way through. And then, yes, they are attacked by a Catwoman, a purple lady ninja with claws, real Catwoman energy. She's clinging to walls. She's jumping around.
She's fucking growling.
She's fighting all of them, all four of them.
It's real
right?
cat people energy. The hit 1982 Paul Schrader film Cat People, starring Natasha Kinski.
And I don't know, Zero gets a cut in this thing.
Before that, we get a real sense of Dion's character. Because they get jumped by the Catwoman, and she basically says like, "Oh shit, I left my keys at home," and just runs away. I think she says something like she's not a fighter and just leaves.
Sure. Oh, that checks out.
But then we do also get the everybody having a fight, just the team having a good old fashioned tussle. And
knockdown, drag out with Eartha Kitt.
Tasha again gets the short end of the stick. Does not get to do as much fighting. Does get hit the most. But
Jesus.
It is nice to see them all together.
It's nice to see the crew
the thing.
Doing crew shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, like, Kung Lao does in one... Like, I was like, this is like a Catwoman. Holy shit. And then, like, Kung Lao refers to her as a Catwoman, too. And I was like, hell yeah. This show knows what it was doing. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, the Catwoman just kind of, like, runs off after a while, right? So they keep going down this path, but between the rocks, and they emerge in like this massive city that's like green and verdant and like definite Great Wall of China style walls and stuff like that, like I think literally they were like, oh, let's just stick the Great Wall of China in here, specifically the Great Wall of China as it looked in the first level of Tomb Raider 2.
And before that, they were at just a bunch of rocks that really just reminded me of like if a high school tried to put on a production that adapted the film Picnic at Hanging Rock, and they didn't have any real rocks.
Or like a Pirate Cove mini golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked like there was a windmill just out of frame.
So they get into this like big ass city, right? They're like, okay, we gotta go return the dagger and get the fuck out of here. So Taja and Dion go off on their own. Zero and Kung Lao are sort of backing them up and watching from not a very far away distance, but a little bit of a distance.
And they're not even really hiding. They're just like, huh.
Yeah, their heads are
That's
fully
pretty
above
cool.
the rocks that they're hiding behind. And Taja and Dion have somehow secured robes, a blue one and a purple one, I believe.
And they're like, hell yeah, brother, just like old times. And then it makes me
Yeah.
wonder yet again, why doesn't Taja get more antics and hijinks?
I know. Oh, if only there had been a season 2. But they go up to the stone dais in their cloaks, and they're like getting ready to put the dagger back in the ceremonial box, right? And while Kung Lao and Zero are watching this, Kung Lao's talking about how he doesn't trust Dion, and Zero says, "What's better in a fight, being honest or being devious?" And it's like, interesting point, Zero.
And that doesn't last long because regardless of whether or not they were telling the truth, they are instantly caught by the high
Instantly
priest
caught.
and the gang. Emperor Palpatine is like,
You've been pranked, motherfuckers. We knew you were coming.
Ashton Kutcher comes out and he's like, there's a camera there and a camera there. You just got punked. Our God said you were going to do that. Don't worry,
Yeah.
no hard feelings. Let me show you around.
We knew this
also,
was happening.
don't question any of this. It's fine.
We knew you were going to take the dagger, and we knew you were going to return the dagger. It was all foretold.
Yeah, and they're like, who's Shao Kahn? And they're like, oh, the god of the universe, the one who controls us all. And at first I was like, are they doing a one being bit? I
Yes.
obviously already knew it was Shao Kahn. That was not a
Yes.
surprise. But I was like, are they alluding to like a one being bit? And then I realized I was too distracted by how fucking stupid our protagonists are to not instantly think, sounds a lot like Shao Kahn.
Yes. Yeah, he tells him the story, right? He's like Shao Kahn or Shaka. I think it's Shao Kahn. Yeah. Shao Kahn.
I didn't think there was an N at the end of the word, but whatever.
I know that the city is called Shakana.
Yeah, in any case, it's like,
They describe Shaka as god of the universe and master who commands us all, and that thousands of years ago, Shaka, maybe with an N, came from the sky and led their ancestors to the city where they have thrived, and Shaka provides them with food and all their needs because, like, Zero's like, hey, I don't see any livestock or crops or anything around here. Like, how do you guys eat, right? And he's like, oh, our God gives us everything we ever fucking need. Like, it rules.
and it's like, how does that work? And they're like, don't worry about it, it's fine. That almost makes me wonder if like all of that complaining we did earlier about how like the overall plotting of the season leading to this doesn't make any sense, is that Shao Kahn set this up like a week ago.
It's possible.
And these are all like paid actors.
He might have, honestly.
Well, actually, at the same time, though, we learned that he does not like paying people. So maybe not.
Right. This could be another prank, though.
It could be another. Ashton Kutcher is right there, dude.
Anyway, so so the crew's wandering around.
There is a literal Buddha in the back of when Emperor Palpatine is explaining everything. They're not even trying to hide it.
There's also a lot of shots of that big giant skull. It's the biggest thing in the city. Like, they
It's
should be
big
paying
and it's
attention
gold
to that.
and it's cool. Also, really
Yeah.
quick, I need to make a comment because it was driving me nuts.
Yes.
So this city is full of people.
Full of them.
All kinds of people.
Lots of people.
The only people that get to talk are white. And a
Yeah.
ton of the extras are not white people. A ton of the extras are people of color.
But
And none of them say words.
well, I think they all technically say Shaka. I'm not defending this. I just want to say, like, to paint.
You know what I'm getting at. You understand what I'm saying.
I do, but also, like, only 3 people talk in the city. There's the high
Right.
priest. There's the merchant. Actually, I think that's it.
It just feels fucking stupid. It
is
bothered
stupid.
me. It was just like,
Yeah.
man, just try. Every fucking character on the show is white.
Are
Like,
you saying there's something unrealistic about the fact that there's just like a shit ton of white people blindly following a fascist tyrant?
Well, that's not really what I mean.
Because I got some news for you, baby.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not. I get the joke that you're making,
Okay.
but more what I mean is like, I don't get why the show is like, I don't know. Maybe if this doesn't make any sense, just cut it. But like,
No, it makes sense. No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I
Like,
didn't
yeah.
get why there was so much, like such a diverse group of people overall, but then any character that needed to say words, I
Right.
don't know, it just felt weird. Because
Sounds,
I
yeah,
don't know.
this
A lot of the makeup of the extras in the group shots are people of color. So I don't know, it was just weird.
They really needed to spend some time watching 1997's Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. They would have learned something about casting. So the crew is wandering around the city, and they're kind of uneasy about all of this, and they sort of realize that they can't leave, right? Like the city's guarded. It's going to be hard for them to get out of there, right? Taja is again showing off how smart she is. She's talking about like there's this whole fucking hidden city here, and we've never heard stories about it from anybody. Nobody's ever told us about it. We've never met anybody who's left this place. Like that's sus as hell. And Sarah's like, yeah, but hey, we get to meet a god tonight. That's pretty cool. And Taja's like, oh,
great, another god, extremely cool.
We already have to deal with drunk Rayden. Like Jesus Christ, you know. So they split up to check out the city, and Taja and Dian are like in the market, and merchants are just giving away things for free, right? They check this tapestry, like she's checking out this tapestry. Oh, sorry, they're checking out a scarf, this white scarf, and Taja.
That is so obviously Shao Kahn.
Yeah, she asked about the images on the scarf that they're looking at, and then the merchant shows them a large tapestry, and it shows like what definitely looks like a mythical version of Shao Kahn. In the middle, we get some other portraits around it. There's one.
There's a snake and a Reiko looking guy and a Doctor Doom looking guy.
There's a fucking Reiko looking guy on the tapestry. There's a reptile person for sure. There's a toothy monster person.
I think those are representative of probably realms that he's conquered.
Yes. And the toothy person was probably like a reference to the Tarkatans, because the Tarkatans do show up in Annihilation and Journey Begins, actually. And then, yeah, fucking Reiko. Fucking Reiko's up there, right? Like Vice God Reiko or some shit. It's ridiculous. Employee of the Month Reiko on the tapestry. And the lady refers to all of these people presented on this tapestry as the angels who protected her ancestors as they were led to the city, right? And then says that the way of Shaka is righteous and uncorrupted. So here, you can have this scarf for free, right?
Deeply sus, especially when that person turns to camera and just glares evilly as they walk away.
Right.
And again, these people are just like the layers of dramatic irony for the audience that are built on top of all of these people being deeply, deeply naive is just overpowering in this episode.
It's wild.
This is the dumbest these characters have ever felt.
Yeah. Yeah. So, speaking of dumb, we take a quick cut back to horny Rayden, who has taken the babe back to the trading post, and he opens the door and he's calling out.
It's the middle of the day.
Everyone.
They were drinking at night. It is the middle of the day. Sun is out, and he has such a good entrance here.
He is noticeably more drunk,
and he magics the door open, and there's a fucking fog machine.
Yeah,
and they're just like, "Hello, Kung Lao, Taja." And then she's like, "Do you live here?" And he's like, "No, this is my friend's place, but they got beds." Huh?
They got lots of extra beds here, huh? What do you think about that, babe?
Let me...
I cannot...
He gets into some weird daddy shit. I'm not crazy about it.
I need to reinforce that her character's name in the credits is Babe. I'm not just saying Babe. Like, I don't know what else to call her. Her credit is Babe.
That's her name.
Yeah, maybe that's just her name. Her name is Babe. Babe Perkins.
Classic Jujin last name.
Yeah.
And so she's like, nice, cool, okay, great. And then Rayden's like, basically what Rayden says is, you want fuck?
Yeah.
She's like, yes. And presumably they do that. He does say some weird, like, he says something about how he's like a father to the people that live here. Yeah. And then I believe she says something to the effect of like, or he says something to the effect of like, and also I can do that with you. How about you worship me and listen to everything that I say vis-a-vis the sex thing? And that was not pleasant.
Yeah. Rayden's going through some shit. He really is.
I don't want to hear anybody do sex talk. Be into whatever you want. And maybe this makes me sound square, but I don't want to hear Rayden, God of Thunder, talk about the fact that he likes to be dominating in the bedroom.
Do what you want to do. Just don't tell Corey about it, okay?
Please.
So do not send your voice messages in.
I'm fragile. I'm just a boy.
Just DM those to me directly.
Gross. So Rayden's having sex, definitely.
Yeah.
In Kung Lao's bed for sure.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. You think he had enough restraint to not take her into Jen's room? I hope so. I hope he had enough
Yes.
respect.
Yes. That door was locked. He didn't want to fight with it.
I feel like he probably just threw her on a pile of hay.
Gross. So, meanwhile, back in Shao Kahn land.
Yeah, Shao Kahn.
Shao Kahn land. Thank you, Neil.
Shao Kahn.
Kung Lao and Zero are watching some kids fuck around and fight.
Yes.
And Kung Lao's like, this is giving me vibes. And
Right.
Zero's like, it's fine. And the second Zero says, it's fine, the kid goes, you're dead. Now give me your soul.
100%. All right. So
And Kung Lao's like, no, they're definitely mimicking Mortal Kombat.
this is a mini mythologies segment. We're going to squeeze right in here.
Mythologies.
At the beginning of Mortal Kombat Deception's Conquest mode, you open on this village, and you're meeting the protagonist of that mode, the protagonist of that game, Shujinko, as a little boy. And the Conquest mode opens with a bunch of kids playing Mortal Kombat. One of them is being the Great Kung Lao. And then there's another one sitting on the shoulders of another boy, and they're playing Goro. So they have 4 arms. It's really fucking rad. And this scene absolutely 100% set off like a Deception Conquest mode alarms in my head. I am ready to say right here, right now, that Deception was referencing this scene with these little kids playing Mortal Kombat in Shao Kahn.
Anything to make this television show more important.
Yes.
So, sure.
Yeah.
I'll follow Mortal Kombat Conquest to the ends of the earth.
I also just thought it was cool. I thought that was a nice, like both references were kind of cool, right? And it's sort of a statement. It's even like a meta statement about like the worry over kids being, influenced by Mortal Kombat and the video game violence and all of that kind of stuff back in the day. This felt like kind of a meta reference to that. These group of kids hanging out in there pretending to kill each other and take each other's souls. That is some like wild Mortal Kombat shit,
Yeah, it's certainly not wild real world shit. I've never stolen a soul.
Yet.
Mythologies.
Also, that particular realization is the thing that triggers Kung Lao's understanding of what's happening. And it is the single most hilariously convoluted premise imaginable for him to put the pieces together.
Yes. Well,
Like, the fact that the kids were aware enough of that to mimic it is the thing that makes all of his synapses fire at once, and he realizes what's happening. And it's like, it wasn't the fact that the place is fucking called Shao Kahn. Like, what are you talking about?
but it was
Jesus
also...
Christ.
It was also the visual aid because Taja and Dion return, and Dion's got the scarf tied around her waist, and Kung Lao's like, holy shit, look at the images on this. Hey, this is like the big monster thing I've seen in my dreams, except it's got 6 arms instead of 4.
And they're like, do you need a cool, refreshing Coca-Cola Zero Energy Cherry, Kung Lao? You don't sound like yourself.
He's like, hold on, wait, that was in my dream, 6 arms instead of 4. Real quick, just for the Discord, possible Grum reference. Okay, moving on.
It's 100% a Grum reference.
Yeah, and then he's like, oh shit, there's kids pretending to steal souls. There's a skull everywhere. There's a big monster man. There's the place that they all think they're going after here, which we haven't touched on, but somehow Kung Lao knows. A place called Farland. Farland. That sure sounds a hell of a lot like Outworld. Oh, fuck. Shaka is Shao Kahn.
Farland is up there with have you ever played Sonic Shuffle?
Yes, I played Sonic Shuffle. We've talked
know
about
you
it
have.
before on the show.
On this show? Jesus
Yes.
Christ. I'm a broken record. Anyway, it's reminiscent of Imaginary World. It's my joke.
I'm always here for it. It's been a long time since we've had a Sonic Shuffle reference. I think that might have been the first Mythologies episode.
It's been a while. I don't know what prompted me to do that.
Staying in. It's staying in. Everyone's going to hear that.
Anyway, so they figure that out.
Yeah.
And before they can really do anything with that information, they're told it directly.
Yeah, we got to get the fuck out of here. And they can't escape the city, right? They're like, we got to get back to Rayden.
Well,
we can't go back to Rayden.
The high priest and the gang are like, time to explain our whole plan.
Yeah.
To you, now that we've got you right where we want you. And then Dion does her turncoat shit, where she's like, yes, I brought them here, it is I.
Yeah. A big giant portal opens, right? At the Dios.
Huge portal.
Biggest portal Kung Lao's ever seen. And they're like, oh, don't worry, Shao Kahn can't enter Earth Realm unless he can suddenly, right? And then like the portal opens and 3 like big giant shadow priests come through. And they're like, are they here? And Dion's like, yeah, they're here. I brought them. It's these guys. Surprise, I betrayed you.
Wow, what a surprise. I bet we were all totally trusting Dion the whole time.
Kung Lao, Zero, Taja.
And they're all fucking flabbergasted. And it's like, you guys are so dumb. I love you. You're all so stupid.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. And the crowd's like just chanting for Shao Kahn.
And they're like, don't worry, he's coming. But first we're going to torture and imprison.
Right.
And then Dion is like, hey. Let me get in that portal.
Where's my reward? And the portal opens and she steps through. And we're going to cut to that, right? Where in Outworld, Dion is taken before Shao Kahn. He demands that she bows and she resists. And she's like, no, I don't worship you. You're only my employer, right? And this is where we find out that Shao Kahn spared her life. She should be dead because she tried to steal the portal key, which is what that dagger is. So I think there's something interesting about that key. Like they need a blood sacrifice to open the portal. That's kind of sick. Anyway.
Yeah, but now they can apparently open it infinite times.
Well, maybe they've done enough sacrificing, right?
Yeah. And then Dion proceeds to stand up for herself, which is cool. But she's doing that to the worst possible person to do that to. And she proceeds to make a series of questionable choices by way of standing up for herself. And Shao Kahn does something he's done dozens of times at this point, which is be gross.
He tries to fuck her, and she's like, that costs extra.
Yeah. He threatens assault and then just says that he'll do it anyway. Also, fuck you, you're not getting paid. Get out of here.
The only reason you're still alive is because you know Taja, and Taja knows Kung Lao, so, like, that's the reason I didn't kill you.
And then she does swear allegiance to him in the end.
Right.
Which will inevitably go nowhere. Another bizarre aspect of this overall bizarre endgame.
Yeah, he says once Kung Lao and... once all this shit is over with, right? Like once whatever ritual is going on is ended, she's going to get all the riches in Shakana, and then he makes her kiss his hand, which she reluctantly does.
He does keep saying bow. That is notably not a bow. Anyway.
Sure. But it is a hand...
It's metaphorical bowing, but...
Maybe that's what they call hand smooches in Outworld.
That could be true. We can't rule that out. And
it's a different culture.
So you cut back to Shao Kahn land, and...
Zero and Taja are in a cage.
Yes, and they're like, fuck this cage.
They're asking people to release them and then calling them idiots.
Let us out of here, you fucking nerds.
Exactly.
I'm going to stuff you in a locker when I get out of this locker, you fucking idiot. And then they're like, I wonder what's going on with Kung Lao. And then...
Can we talk about Dion, who just like faced the Emperor in Outworld, coming by Zero and Taja's cage just to mock them?
Inexplicably gloat? Like, she didn't do anything.
You're not in a good position, Dion. You should be able to tell that, like, this isn't going to work out well for you. But she's still like, hey, fuckers, gotcha.
Actress is great, by the way, at this particular bit of just being like...
She's fantastic.
Different smarmy than Rayden is, but smarmy nonetheless. She's like, hey, fuck you. Told you to look up for yourself, idiot. And then she basically just puts an L on her forehead and tells them to kick rocks.
Taja, like, reaches out and tries to choke her and can't reach her, right? And Dion's like... everything is just out of your reach, isn't it? And then she says, she gives them she drops some like thief rules, right? So if anyone out there wants to be a thief, thief code rule 1 is to look out for yourself, and rule 2 is emotions get in the way of a job. Okay.
Rule number 3 is there are no other rules.
That's thief class for the day.
And so they're like, what's up with Kung Lao, I wonder? So they're just torturing him. There's a man sitting over a hilarious cauldron making some sort of potion with big funny explosions and a bunch of green goo.
Yes. 3 shadow priests in this episode. None of them are Silk Manning. I'm very upset about it.
I'm going to gloss over this scene because it doesn't make sense, and frankly, I have no desire to dwell on it.
They're just torturing him.
Yeah, but like they go through a lot of effort and effects budget to set up this weird glowing green acid glove that they hit him with. Yeah. And it seems to do nothing more than just cause him pain. And it's unclear what they're getting out of that other than just making him feel pain. Because they set it up as if they were like going to fucking siphon it or something. And it's just, this shit hurts.
So I do think it had a purpose. The first is like from the we have to, how do we get from A to B in this story purpose? It is they torture him with magic, and somehow Rayden is able to pick up on that because it's magic, I guess. And B, I think it does weaken him because he's about to have a fight with a Shadow Priest and not do so hot in it.
Yeah, I'm not saying it wouldn't have, but also like they set it up like it was going to do something beyond just that. Green has a meaning on this show. If things glow green, you have an assumption that it might be like soul related.
So let's keep an eye on this for next episode because it is very deliberately green and it is very deliberately painful for Kung Lao. And somehow Rayden picks up on that pain, and that's how he knows something's wrong. That's not something we've ever seen Rayden do. So I do wonder, maybe it is some kind of a potion. Maybe they're trying to lure Rayden there, you know? Like, again, we'll have to check in next episode, because this is very much part one of a 2-part episode. So maybe we'll get an answer to that next time. I think there's an argument to be made for that, you know, because Rayden didn't show up every time Kung Lao got hit with magic in the past.
Right. Yeah. And then obviously, Rayden starts having a bad time, and Babe is like, "Oh, are you okay? Like, I'm just gonna get you some water. Like, don't go anywhere.
Right.
Like, I'll we're good. We can figure this out."
You're just hungover, Rayden. You need a bacon, egg, and cheese from McDonald's and a Gatorade.
But I love her so much because she's not even being like that dismissive for such a small character whose literally whole existence is a sex joke. Essentially,
she's a lot of fun.
She's very she's a lot of fun. Like, she's kind of like bubbly. It's cool, but like she's weirdly very understanding about whatever's happening and is not questioning it at all. She's just like, "Oh, well, he's going through some shit. I'm gonna help him." She's just nice. And then he fucking bounces, and she's just like, "Okay, we'll talk. It's cool.
Yeah, we'll talk later, right?
Yeah,
call me later."
I don't know. I thought it was cool.
I think that the cynical and probably intended way to read that character was that she's dumb, right?
Yeah, joke's on you, idiot. She's not dumb at all.
But I think like the way it actually ends up being presented is that like, no, because it's not like she was fooled into thinking Rayden was a god. Rayden was actually a god. Rayden actually opened that door to the trading post with magic. Like, and she's along for the ride. She's not stupid. She's just like into it. She's here for it, right? Because on any other show, I think, all right. This isn't some Barney shit, right? Where he's tricking women into sleeping with him. But that's like it's the same joke, you know?
Right. But in this case, there's a very easy way to read it as something that does not have to be fucking demeaning.
Right. Yeah.
And the whole time that this character is in this episode, I never felt that she was like dumb or pointless or like inherently being objectified. Right. I mean, everybody's being objectified on this show to some extent, but
sure.
I liked her. She's got a great vibe, and she just seemed like down to clown with a god, which, I mean, who wouldn't? Yeah. Again, but also, it just seems like a nice person. Good for Babe.
And if you would not be down to clown with a god, send us a voice message, mkpodquest@gmail.com, and we'll play it on the show.
Yeah, we'll tell you why you're wrong.
Anyway.
Home stretch. Thank Christ. I'm so tired.
So Rayden felt the pain of Kung Lao.
With some flashes.
It ruined his booty call.
I think the booty call was over.
The villagers are chanting for Shaka again. The crew has been brought out to the altar again. The portal is open again. So Shao Kahn is speaking through the portal, and he's saying like, "Oh, the time is near. Bow to me. Only one sacrifice remains." And that last sacrifice is Kung Lao, right? So the guards pull Kung Lao up to the altar, and another shadow priest, who is not Silk Manning, exits the portal, and it's a very big dude played by pro wrestler Emery Hale, and it's a Kung Lao versus a wrestler fight again, and it was brutal. It was a good fight. Kung Lao versus big dude fights always end up being really cool, in my opinion. When we had them,
I feel like the villains should have figured out by now that Kung Lao usually wins against a big dude.
I mean, he wins against everybody, honestly. Like,
right?
Well,
but like, I guess sometimes maybe they should have had multiple smaller dudes instead of one larger dude,
or two large dudes, right?
Two rude dudes. Are you a bad enough dude to beat the shit out of Kung Lao? Was that game called just Bad Dudes?
It's called Bad Dudes, yeah. Bad Dudes. Yeah. Taito? No, not Taito. Data East. It's a Data East game.
Are you a bad enough dude to steal Kung Lao's soul?
This fucking fight was cool. I mean, like the big dudes, they always end up throwing Kung Lao around like a fucking ragdoll. Right?
I like any fight where the set gets destroyed and also looks like a cheap high school gymnasium set, which like when they have to destroy a pillar and it's made out of like fucking styrofoam. I'm always for that.
Sure, yeah.
But I do want to double down. This set with like this altar and the big funny skull,
It rules.
and everything. It's really good, and it's
So
wild that it just shows up right at the end.
It is.
In the grand scheme of things, the end. And so he gets leg dropped and fucking thrown around like a.
I feel like at one point he like punched the dude or kicked the dude in the nuts. I'm not
He
sure.
He does.
Yeah.
He's getting chokeholded to death, and he's like,
Sure.
well, I should kick him in the nuts, probably.
There's a big thing that he does in this where he does that front flip drop kick.
Yeah, it's his move. It's his titular move.
He used it on Scorpion to defeat Scorpion, and it's similar to the Bruce Locke move that almost defeated him in the first episode. He's used it a few times. I love to see it. It's a signature move, absolutely. It does nothing to this guy, to this big giant guy. Now, here's my reading of this. We've seen Kung Lao go up against a bunch of big dudes, right? And to varying degrees of success. I think that all of these things are designed to be allusions to his inevitable fight with Goro, right? Like, I really think that that's true, because Goro is like the biggest dude of all, you know?
He's the biggest, baddest dude.
He really is. So I think that that's why they keep putting him against big guys, so that we see him like struggle and rally and figure out a way to win and all that kind of stuff, right? So like,
Even though we know he eventually will fail to do that.
and we see him use this move that he's used on other people and has been very successful, not be successful on this guy, right? So that's, I think, a little bit of foreshadowing that when he ultimately will face Goro, he just unfortunately ain't going to be able to cut it, which is honestly heartbreaking if I think about it.
I don't like thinking about Kung Lao in pain or Paolo Montalban.
Yeah, me neither. Great Kung Lao. Paolo Montalban's great Kung Lao. I'm going to say it. I'm on the record in other corners of the internet as being just a huge Taven stan.
Yeah, it's your whole brand.
I'm a Paolo Montalban great Kung Lao stan now.
You can be both.
I've spent so much time with this actor and this character. I don't know. I'm just saying. Anyway, in this fight, Kung Lao gets like body slammed, right? And he is down. He's out. He's gonna get killed. The bad dude, the big burly shadow priest, who is not Silk Manning, gets a sword and he's ready to stab Kung
big
Lao.
fucking sword.
A big ass sword.
My note literally says, I said, okay, Neil,
Yeah.
they pull out the sword, and in real life, I went, whoa, that's a big fucking sword.
I know, right? It's bigger than Ciro's sword that he's well known for carrying with him at all times.
That's true.
But somehow
And
left at
Ciro
home this time.
looks at his own sword in this scene and is like, oh, fuck. My sword can't do anything against this guy's sword.
Taj is absolutely kicking herself for forgetting her crossbow.
Where's
She
my
never
big-
leaves home without it.
Where's my gigantic crossbow?
Her gigantic. It's
Half the size of her body crossbow.
What's the name for those like giant ass crossbows that are like catapults that you could like build in Warcraft 2?
Oh, fuck. Oh, this is going to drive me nuts.
Hold on, let me search for a big ass catapult real quick.
Shit. No, it's not
Oh
a
my
catapult.
God.
Because you're going to get like trebuchet
Sorry.
or something.
I still have the tab
Mr.
open with
Cool
Mr.
Ice.
Cool Ice.
So did I.
Big ass
crossbow. Ballista.
Yeah.
It's a ballista.
Taj has just got a ballista.
If you Google big ass crossbow, which is what I did,
Yeah.
you get the history of the ballista. Game of Thrones' new weapon is ... from popularmechanics.com.
I'm gonna print screen what Bing provided me.
Fucking Bing.
Because it suggests images at the top of your search.
Oh! Oh! That's so funny. Bing is fucking the Wild West, dude. I need to fact check this really quick.
I do want to point out all of those are blurred out because, of course, if my search settings are set to moderate, not off.
That's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Big ass crossbow. I'm getting different ones. None of those are there. There's some even more confusing shit, though. What the fuck? Anyway, we can't talk about this right now. There's a bunch of real crossbows, and then one person sitting on a toilet.
I did get a real crossbow in mine, too. I just want that out there. But, oh, boy.
Deeply upsetting.
Wow. Oh, shit. Okay, closing this. All right. So Kung Lao's about to get fucking killed, and then Holy shit. Boom. Lightning and thunder. Rayden shows up, right?
Fucking finally.
And he says, oh shit, I always knew Shao Kahn had a secret portal. Dude, that's pretty important fucking information, right?
That is the funniest line of dialogue this show will ever have. Rayden lightnings into the room, and he's just like, fuck.
I knew it.
I knew it. Fuck.
I knew it.
I should have investigated this further. And it's like, what do you mean? You knew the whole time that Shao Kahn must have had a secret portal to Earthrealm.
Maybe.
Fucking look harder.
Maybe, just maybe, you should have told Earth's chosen warrior, the guy who Shao Kahn is constantly trying to kill, about this.
Hey, I think I know where all these guys are coming from. There's a big portal in a secret town.
Imagine.
Fuck.
Just imagine how much joy Kung Lao could have in his life right now, right at this point in the show. If in episode one, Rayden had been like, hey, Kung Lao, just so you know, pretty sure Shao Kahn's got a secret portal around here somewhere, right? Maybe we should find that and shut it the fuck down. And then Kung Lao and his buddies, Zero and Taja,
do that.
because in this reality, Jen is still murdered. Go find this fucking
in
city.
In this alternate reality, we will not resuscitate Jen. She is crucial to Kung Lao's trajectory.
And they take a bunch of these gourd bombs that Zero made to blow up all of Kriya's hives. And instead of blowing up all of Kriya's fucking hives, they just start chucking these things into the valley, take out all of Shao Kahn's followers, so the portal can never be fucking opened with blood sacrifices. And then Kung Lao's just chilling on a beach, drinking some kind of fancy drink out of a coconut, I'm sure, waiting for the next Mortal Kombat tournament to roll around in 50 years. What the fuck, Rayden?
Man,
fuck
Rayden,
you.
Rayden,
fuck you, Rayden.
It feels like Rayden has spent a lot of this show like abdicating his duties and responsibilities, which is real fucking rich considering how much time he spends telling Kung Lao to stop even thinking thoughts about abdicating his responsibilities that he never wanted in the first place. Rayden, you're a fucking god. You're the protector of Earthrealm. Get your shit together. Be helpful. Don't speak in riddles, you smarmy fuck.
And clearly, based on this alone, Rayden could have gotten way more active in helping them avoid situations. He could have gotten way more involved in the goings-ons of things than he has been for the entire run of the episode, where he's like, my hands are tied. I can't do anything, except I can show up here with lightning and fire a bunch of lightning and scare everybody off.
I get why. You don't want Deus Ex Rayden all the time. And also, he literally has a stare down with Shao Kahn. This was a very direct sort of threat in that way. I get why he would be here for all of those.
All right,
but I get why if you're the character, you'd be like, hey, you're telling me you could have done this the whole fucking time?
Right.
Anyway, so Rayden shows up and he shoots lightning everywhere.
Tells everybody to run off. Dion's like, she goes up to the high priest. She demands she be taken to Shao Kahn. The high priest just like...
He's like, I'll take you somewhere to die.
He uses the dagger as a key, and he turns it, and the portal opens.
And then he just
stabs her. He stabs her with the key, with the dagger.
And then she joins the gang to run away.
He walks her dead body through the portal with the key. The crew is like, oh shit, the portal won't close now.
And Rayden goes, get the fuck out of here.
And then all four of them run away. That's right.
Yes.
Kung Lao, Zero,
Eagle-eyed
Taja.
viewers will notice that Dion is the fourth member of the group running away.
Yes.
It's brief in that shot, but it's very obvious. And I just think that's fun. Episode basically ends here. There's another like sort of nightmare montage of Shao Kahn being like, I'm gonna fucking kill you idiots so hard.
We got more Goro close-ups. We see Rayden fighting Shao Kahn. That's going to be sick as hell. We see Shang Tsung. We see Taja.
I didn't like the spoilers. I don't want to know any of that shit with that fight.
We see Vorpax. We see Vorpax in there. We see.
I didn't notice Vorpax at all, but okay.
We see a legion of Outworld warriors taken from Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
For like the third time, we see that shot. Same thing as that shot with that wall exploding.
We see flaming skulls. We see the three-headed Shao Kahn dragon from Annihilation.
Again.
And then we see like a flag, I think, with the Mortal Kombat logo on it fluttering,
yes,
right?
We do.
And then we like zoom in on one of the candles in the Shaolin temple where Kung Lao is, and the flame of the candle goes out.
And it dramatically and poetically goes out.
That's the end of the episode.
So deep.
The second to last episode of Mortal Kombat Conquest. What a fucking wild ride.
Anyway, I liked this episode. In terms of actual like finale prep,
right.
It feels a bit like nonsense. In terms of like overall, why did they do it this way?
Yeah.
But I enjoyed watching it.
I think we're absolutely being more critical of it because we know that we're at the end, right? I think at the time, had we seen this like live on air, I don't think we'd be so caught up in the idea of Vorpax and Shang Tsung not being there, not getting the wrap up, etc.
Not even that's not even it though. Like, if you were somebody watching this show, you would know that the next episode was the finale. You were aware of things like that. You could be.
Well,
like, it wasn't a total anomaly. And in any case, it's not just that those things aren't getting a wrap up. It's fucking wild that they're just introducing all of this shit randomly right now. Because it's so important.
But this, I mean, it's a show that takes risks.
You can't say it doesn't take risks.
It absolutely takes risks. And we're going to see how much those risks pay off next week when we talk episode 22, the final episode of Mortal Kombat Conquest.
Mixed emotions. I'm excited to see it, but it is going to be weird to not be constantly discussing it all the time.
It is. I mean, I'm 100% on board if you want to then go through all of these over again. Like, I'm there.
In reverse order.
Yeah, we'll just start working backwards.
Watch the finale again.
Yes. But next week, look forward to our discussion of the 22nd and final episode of Mortal Kombat Conquest, Vengeance. A cataclysmic battle between Rayden and Shao Kahn could determine the fate of all the realms. Kung Lao, Ciro, and Taja end up in jeopardy while trying to rescue Rayden. Now, a little bit of business at the end here before we give our plugs. Again, you got about 1 week. Hey, listeners, you got about 1 week if you want to send in anything for us to play on our Mortal Kombat Conquest wrap-up show. Feelings about the show, stuff you're looking forward to for the movies or anything else like that. You can submit a voice message through Anchor, or just record it into your phone and email it right to our show account, mkpodquest@gmail.com. And just a reminder, Conquest may be ending, but the show is going to continue on. There's a lot of other Mortal Kombat stuff that we're going to talk about in the same universe, and potentially stuff beyond the universe, depending on if Corey and I can continue to get along.
The Conquest is over, but the Podquest continues.
There it is.
Also, there will be time after this to send in messages like that, but it would be nice to have a large selection, if at all possible, if people are interested, for around the finale, which is why we're trying to give people a deadline here.
Yes.
So, time to feel like you're back in school again, and try to meet that if at all possible.
Sure. Give us, 30
Drop us
second.
a line.
Drop us a line.
Send a letter to Zoom.
I just
Boston, Mass. 02134, baby.
Send us a written email that we can read on the show also if you're uncomfortable submitting your voice. I think I should have made that point clearer sooner.
Send us a tweet.
We just want to hear from you.
DM us if you know us in real life.
You can just tell us, you can just send us something to that account, that mkpodquest@gmail.com, and say, please read this on the show. We'll just fucking read it. We don't care what it says.
We'll read anything, including a sponsorship deal. Wink. Can you put a ding sound when I say wink? Like if somebody were to like smile and there's like a glint on their teeth from a TV show and it goes like ding. Like, you know the one.
Yes, I'll either put that in or the sound of what happens when you pick up a ring in Sonic the Hedgehog.
Or a rib shot gunshot.
But anyway, I just wanted to say that because I put a lot of emphasis on asking for voice messages for us to play. But if you just want to send something in for us to read, 100% on board with that. We'd love to hear from you in any case. Yeah.
That's the main thing.
And with that, Corey, I think it's time for us to travel through this like weird rock wall I found and see if we can discover a hidden village in this valley.
Who is our villain that this town would be named after?
Ben Meckler. Corey, what do you have to plug?
They Made Another One is the thing I still have to plug. It's the other podcast I do with our friend Liam, where we watch sequels and reboots and remakes and stuff. If you're hearing this the day that came out, our Leprechaun 3 episode will be up.
Holy shit. Is that the one with Jennifer Aniston?
No, it's the first one.
Oh, fuck.
He goes to Vegas.
Sweet.
You can find us at They Made Another on Twitter, TMAO on Letterboxd. Unfortunately, did not get the same handle for those. They Made Another One on all your podcast services. I'm on Twitter and Letterboxd at Mr. Corey Price.
And you can find me on Twitter at Final Neil. Follow my retro gaming Instagram account at Final Neil Retro. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at MKPodquest. There's a Tumblr out there. You can find it. Subscribe to us in your podcast app and send in any correspondence you may have. We love to hear from you all. mkpodquest@gmail.com. And let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that works for me. That may as well be our sign off from now on.
Shaka, 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 shaka.
Shaka.
So now we have Shao Kahn, Shao Kahn, or Shao Kahn,
Shaka.
and Shao Kahn, and Shakana.
And Shakma.
I guarantee there was one time in this episode where I mispronounced one of those things as another thing.
Yeah, 100%. Is the episode over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hit and stop.
Okay.